Yo, parish orphans and retrogrades, happy Friday. Today is a special show because it's the day where we can definitively say female deacons are not going to happen in the early part of the Leo XIV papacy. Remember, female deacons were a project of Pope Francis's. They were supposed to be the second or the third Sanct Gallen Mafia agenda item. Pope Francis kept them open all 12 years, the possibility. He kept saying, well, I can't do it at the Amazon Synod, but we're going to keep it alive. There's a papal commission that has recently voted against ordaining women deacons. Now, Leo XIV allowed a report to be released to the public showing a short summary of deliberations and final votes by this special commission. And these sessions were held 2021, 2022, and 2025. The 10 members voted against ordaining women to the diaconate, but supported further study. So it's not as interesting a story as it might initially seem. Leo XIV is just Francis too, and he's doing what Francis did. He knows what the zeitgeist is, particularly because he's American. He's going to shut down current female deacons. They're going to wait for a new late 60s, early 70s, where feminism comes back. It's very out right now. We're going to talk some about our last two feminism shows today, but they're going to have to bide their time. Leo knows this is not the time to do it. He kept it open just as Francis did. I'll give you some more details on that in today's show. This was released yesterday by the USCCB. So we're going to get into all that. We have a big announcement that's coming. We are literally signing contracts for the release of What a Woman Is. And you're going to be excited when you find out who the distributor is. But we're literally we're waiting for the contract right now. I might sign it in the middle of this show. What?
It might come through while you're on air.
Literally, Steph is like, okay, be ready to sign this DocuSign on air. I don't want to announce until then. The lawyer in me doesn't like to do that. That's the big announcement we'll make either today, Monday, whatever, as soon as we can. But also I want to address the feminism that's endemic to this female deacon push that we're addressing with Joe Heschmeyer at the beginning of this show. I think Steph wanted to do a early Advent Christmas time thing as I bump my Christmas tree. Anyway, God bless you all. Welcome to today's episode.
Should we start with the funny clip first?
Yeah, this is good.
Let's start with a little bit of cheer and jovialness. How about that?
I love joviality.
Let's have it. This is a funny clip we saw on Twitter. I thought you guys would all get a kick out of this in regards to saying Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas can go either way, and I hate to offend people. So this whole last holiday season, I didn't let out one Merry Christmas. That's true. Instead, I said, may the birth of the one and only true God Jesus Christ, bestow a blessing of grace and peace upon your household, to the belittlement of every other false religion. Lest you be gay. That's what I say.
See,
Merry Christmas can go either way.
This is very similar to what I said.
You've been doing this for years.
And I just want to point out the overall trajectory of the popular culture. It has become so incredibly based in the 2.5 years since the beer bug restrictions ended. Boy, that really backfired on them, I guess. I mean, it's also just the truth will out, and it's coming around both. I'm not just talking Israel, Zionism. I'm talking on women. The most important issue in society, I've been saying it for 6 years, tremendous opposition on women, tremendous opposition. And now we even are kind of fighting alongside Nick Fuentes and the Groypers. Nick Fuentes has even been saying in his recent streams, the woman is the more important sort of target defense class than even the Jew or the black, which for Nick Fuentes is saying a lot. We're just, it's nice to fight side by side. And now people are getting it, and society is becoming so based the other way that it is frightening the cowards. We're going to talk about one of those cowards because I talked about him in the previous two shows with Joe Enders, a fellow Joe, in just a second. But first, I want to remind you guys to subscribe to this channel, smash the like button, leave a comment. And if you want to support the show, We need your local support to keep the lights on. Locals Rules for Retrogrades / this is how you support the show. This is the Patriarchy show. We are the center, the epicenter of the return of patriarchy. I'm been called the online patriarchy godfather, and it's back in a major way. And boy, when What a Woman Is drops on the channel that it drops, you are gonna know that my name is Timothy J. Gordon. You can call me Himothy if you want. I'm him.
I'll call you Jamesathy.
I'm him. No, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. Like black dudes call each other Himothy.
No way.
Because they say I'm him. And so when you're talking about patriarchy, it's Himothy J. Gordon.
Golly.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's only so much shrapnel ideologically and conceptually, the fallout of saying truth that you could take in the face before you get, I guess, less than convivial. When you start to become super silly, you start to brag a little bit. I don't know what, but we took a lot of shrapnel, me and Steph, for the patriarchy stuff. And it's just, they come at you again and again and again, and it's either lies or ignoring you or pretending to take the wrong point, trying to mischaracterize what you say, pretending not to get it. Just outright denying that things like the Roman Catechism exists, which the only place in a universal catechism that the Roman Catholic Church has ever told us what the duties of wives are and the duties of husbands are. It's one time we've had 2 universal catechisms, only one of them adumbrates the duties of wife and husband. It's never been abrogated after it was adumbrated. And that's in the Roman Catechism, not in CCC. And so when you have opponents that say, well, there are times when a wife doesn't have to obey her husband, as Joe Heschmeyer said recently, I said, okay, what are those times? It's only times of where she is impious. The Latin word is impious. That means wicked. That means sin. Impious means wicked or sin. Joe Heschmeyer specifically said there are times besides sin where a wife literally may disobey her husband or talk back or repudiate his order or what have you. And he says very, very specifically that the Venn genus of those times is wider than just impiety, which means sin, impious, which means sin. And then I threw the Roman Catechism at the guy, and they simply don't know what to do. And in our last show, we peppered with the Roman Catechism, the main place that we were citing. We peppered it, we splashed the pot with like 40 to 50 quotes, some of which were misattributed. Can I just throw myself under the bus there? You were getting, I know you're not going to do this, but I'm going to do it publicly because you're getting heat for my mistake, particularly from Christian Wagner, which sucks because like this guy has your text number. We don't have Joe Heschmeyer's text number. We tried to reach out to him. Joe tried to reach out to him to have a faithful conversation. Joe Enders. Joe Enders tried to have a conversation with him. Christian Wagner, who we were very friendly to. As a matter of fact, when he was on our channel, people were just flooding our comments, like talking about how he lost the debate to Diamond, and I was telling them to be respectful. I was like really sticking up for him. So it just sucks like what he did because he just like went after you today on this instead of texting you behind the scenes, which you guys had very friendly text exchanges. I don't know why he chose to go about it this way. He did rightly, I think, call out some errors on this document that I made. Tim was actually doing real research behind the scenes on the Catechism of Trent and like actual sources. I actually made this I guess you could call it retarded document now. I actually made this retarded document that I was reading from on the thing. So this is my fault. You're getting a lot of heat from that. So Tim, do you want to give everybody a lesson in correcting your wife on air? Or saying you shouldn't have done this? It's not that. Look, we splashed the pot. The main debate is over what the catechetical teaching was. And I've taught you guys this a long time, since summer of 2019 when I debated Trent Horn, and I quoted the Roman Catechism on the Duty of Wives, the one place in 2,000 years that we got a catechetical teaching on what wives must do, I quoted it. Trent Horn laughed at it. He laughed at a different part of the paragraph, the part which says wives must only go out of the home in extreme necessity or something, and only even then with their husband's permission. He laughed at that. Other people like Joe Heschmeyer have turned up their nose at the part in the catechism where it admonishes that wives must obey their husbands in all things except in the impious, meaning the wicked, meaning sin, which is precisely what Scripture says. Joe Heschmeyer does that. If you want me to play it, he very, very specifically rejects this, and he says there's a wider net of times than just impiety / sin that a husband may be disregarded by his wife. Here it is right here. And he's falsely ascribing it to Pope Pius XI, who calls such men as Joe Heschmeyer false teachers. Literally, I'm going to read a Pius XI quote from Casti Connubii that Joe did not read, even though he read from Casti Connubii. Listen,
Joe Heschmeyer?
Yeah, Joe Heschmeyer. Okay. Listen to the false thing he says here.
Prudent. So when Pius says that a wife doesn't have to obey her husband's every request if not in harmony with right reason, he's not just referring to a husband telling his wife to do something intrinsically immoral. He's also referring to times where a wife doesn't have to obey her husband's request because to do so would be either undignified or imprudent.
Okay, let me repeat that.
A wife doesn't have to obey her husband's request because to do so would be either undignified or imprudent.
Okay, so imprudence is the specific area where a husband may order a wife on anything. Matters of phronesis in the Greek will not be adjudicated. They are moral matters, but they won't be adjudicated until the end of time, meaning the husband dictates all prudential matters. So I just played you Joe Heschmeyer saying that this is an area where wives may disobey on prudence. He gives the specific example of buying a home or buying a car, classic areas that are uniquely the discretion of the husband. And he's saying a wife may talk back or disobey in those areas. Now, here is the proof text that Joe Enders and I responded to Joe Heschmeyer because he wouldn't come on and debate me. He still won't debate me. He'll dodge me. He's got 1/27th of the followers I have on Twitter, yet he talks about, I'm not going to debate you to expand your platform. He has 2,000 followers on Twitter. His bigger account has 7,000 followers on Twitter. I've 55,000 almost. And he's trying to defend refusing to debate because he knows he'll get whooped on platforming, because Catholic Answers is out there to defend, to cover their feminist ribs against the onslaught on feminism over the last 2 years that I have led. Here is the Roman Catechism, and I'm going to play you in a second. Get that Christian Wagner saying that I fabricated every one of the quotes. This was the main quote we covered in our 2 video response to Joe Heschmeyer. Here's the quote. Here's the entire section from the Roman Catechism on the duties of a wife, which Christian Wagner is going to say in this thing. Every quote was fabricated. He couldn't find it. He defies anyone to find one of my quotes to be real. Roman Catechism.
And technically they were my quotes. So you're getting like beef for that. But it makes me feel bad that you're getting, because
it's fine. I endorsed him. Let's move on.
Okay. I just want that to be out there.
It's
I'm taking ownership, you guys. I'm taking ownership.
All right. Question 27 of the Roman Catechism, the duties of a wife. On the other hand, the duties of a wife are thus enumerated by the Prince of the Apostles. The first stuff is kind of boring. Let wives be subject to their husband. Everyone knows they have to be subject. That if any believe not the word, they also may without the word be won by the conversation of the wives, while they behold your chaste conversation with fear, whose adorning let it not be that outward plaiting of the hair, or of wearing of gold, or of putting on of apparel, but the hidden man of the quiet heart in that which is not corruptible, of a quiet and a meek spirit, which is in the sight of God of great price. Okay, that's very verbose. And now here's where it really begins. For after this manner in the old time, the holy women also who trusted in God adorned themselves, being in subjection to their own husbands, even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord. Remember, Lord does not mean God. Lord means more like a landlord. That's why it's not taking the Lord's name in vain to say the Lord. So Sarah calls Abraham Lord. Back to the quote. It should also be a principal study of theirs to train up their children in the practice of religion and to take particular care of their domestic concerns. Unless compelled by necessity to go abroad, they should willingly keep themselves at home. I read this to Trent Horn at Catholic Answers Studio in 2019, and he laughed at me. He laughed at me and at the one teaching of the duties of wives. I'm not trying to, I'm cool with Trent now. I'm just saying Catholic Answers, who also employs Joe Heschmeyer, has been trying to justify their boomer feminism for 6 years now. He laughed at the catechism, this Catholic apologist. Joe Heschmeyer turned his nose up at the next part of the catechism. The wives should also never venture to leave home without the permission of their husbands. Trent also laughed at that second verse. Again, and in this, the conjugal union chiefly consists, let them always remember that, next to God, they are to love no one more than their husband, to esteem no one more highly, yielding to him in all things not inconsistent with Christian piety. This means sin, impious. Anything impious, they don't have to follow. Anything wicked, they don't have to follow. Meaning categorically, a husband can't make his wife miss mass or murder someone or commit an act of artificial contraception. Not inconsistent with Christian piety, the most willing and cheerful obedience. Now, we did 20 minutes of the video on this alone, on the second clause alone. Joe Enders was saying the most willing and cheerful obedience. He's screaming about it for 5 minutes. He is like, not only does a wife have to do everything her Christian husband says, but she has to do it cheerfully. She has to do it cheerfully. Now, Joe Heschmeyer, another agent deployed by boomer Catholic Answers, boomer feminist Catholic Answers, who's been nipping at my heels for 6 years on the feminism issue, was deployed to try to have the difference and now pretend that their position was always half as unreasonable as it once was, and to say, well, we're not feminists, we're just reasonable. And that's called a limited hangout. The CIA calls that a limited hangout, and they do it all the time. So Heschmeyer did that. He denied that wives must yield to their husbands in all things not inconsistent with the pious versus the impious, the most willing and cheerful obedience. And then his friend, I guess they're friends, Christian Wagner, came out and made a very dishonest video pointing out that some of our pot splashing quotations that Steph is referring to were misattributed. Some of them were New Advent, and we had misattributed them to the 1917 Code of Canon Law. Christian Wagner was like dunking on me for Twitter because I was responding hastily this morning when I was squinting, and I was literally squinting, texting back to him. I hit 1913 Code of Canon Law, and he's like, it's 1917. So this cowardly counter signaling of me is bad enough, right?
And I don't understand.
Wait, here's the thing. Play his video where he's actually saying not a single one of my quotes. The main one I used 50 quotes. All of them were either a summary or actually just misattributed to some Catholic source. But the main one was exactly where I told you it would be, the Roman Catechism. I know you want to say something.
I'll play it. I don't know. It's just surprising because I thought you guys were bros. He has your number. Like, if there was something that was legitimately needing to be corrected, like we could have cleared this up very easily behind the scenes. For him to come out like this was just dirty pool. I feel like you guys could have had like a gentlemanly conversation behind the scenes. We heard nothing from him. He didn't say anything to us. He just released this today, and we could have actually clarified. We've invited him on the channel in good faith before. I don't understand. Like we're taking, people on our side are taking shrapnel in the face every single day on the main topic of our day of feminism. And we have, intelligent Catholic men out here like this that are like picking nits basically over silly things instead of really joining us in this fight and like standing arm in arm with us. And it really is honestly just disappointing. But here we go. Let me get
None of these quotes actually exist in the documents. These quotes actually exist in the document. None of these quotes actually exist in the documents. None of these.
Okay.
No, keep it going.
I don't know why it's going.
No, I did that. Can you
documents? I checked all of them. I could not find them. I would like to see if anybody could correct me on this, but I cannot find any of them. And same for the Catechism of Trent.
Okay, play it one more time. Let it run all the way through.
None of these quotes actually exist in the documents. These quotes actually exist in the document. None of these quotes actually exist in the documents. None of these quotes actually exist in the documents. I checked all of them. I could not find them. I would like to see if anybody could correct me on this, but I cannot find any of them. And same for the Catechism of Trent.
So he said none of our quotes
actually exist in the
documents. Same for Catechism of Trent. Okay, there it is. Is that on the screen?
Yeah, this is question, what is it?
Question 27, duties of a wife. The quote we were yelling about was the last two sentences. And it alone, Christian, disposes the matter. It alone, the catechetical teaching of the duties of wife, it alone is dispositive on the issue. To what extent must a wife obey her husband? And your friend, Joe Heschmeyer, said, and I played it here, a wife may disobey her husband on issues beyond that of Christian piety. Buying a car, he gave another example, buying a home. He articulated why he thought that was the case, and he pulled from Casti Connubii. Now consider paragraph 74. Pope Pius XI in Casti Connubii calls false teachers those who do exactly what Joe Heschmeyer, and I guess by implication, Christian Wagner do. Listen to this. The same false teachers who try to dim the luster of conjugal faith and purity do not scruple to do away with the honorable and trusting obedience which the woman owes the man. Obedience that she owes to the man. Heschmeyer was saying she doesn't owe this obedience nearly as plenarily as the Catechism says. Pius continues, many of them, think Joe Heschmeyer, go further and assert that such a subjection of one party to the other is unworthy of human dignity, that the rights of husband and wife are equal. So, all right, now I got to replay what Joe Heschmeyer actually said. So did you hear what Pius just said? He literally just said that some of these people are such false teachers that they will go further and assert that such a subjection, the rightful subjection of wife to husband, is unworthy of human dignity. That's exactly what Joe Heschmeyer said. And he said, well, this is my interpretation of Pius. Listen to what he says.
So when Pius says that a wife doesn't have to obey her husband's every request if not in harmony with right reason, he's not just referring to a husband telling his wife to do something intrinsically immoral. He's also referring to times where a wife doesn't have to obey her husband's request because to do so would be either undignified, imprudent.
So Pius specifically says it's not undignified for a wife to be generically, meaning as a genus, submitted to her husband. Many of them even go further. This is in the document he's citing, Casti Connubii, paragraph 74. Many of them even go further and assert that such a subjection of one party to the other is unworthy of human dignity, that the rights of husband and wife are equal. This is Joe Heschmeyer, and I guess this is Christian Wagner too. People show you their true colors. Now, because I called the Code of Canon Law 1913 instead of 1917, some of the quotes that we pulled were from sources alternate to the ones that we thought. Those were splash the pot quotes. We researched those 6 minutes before going on the air. But I've written a whole book with how many quotations called Just the Sources? First and Ephesians.
Before people start saying this was like AI or whatever, these we spent years and years and years on, and a lot of the
look at all these pages of quotes. These are in our published.
We didn't even know how to be fair to me.
All these pages.
Okay.
No, you can talk.
To be fair to me, and again, taking responsibility for this blunder, like I learned about ChatGPT like hours ago or whatever, and so we always did things old school. So of course I got bit in the butt like the first time that I'm like actually using something that's I don't know what I'm doing. So Tim's getting the heat for this from Christian Wagner, and I wish he would have just texted you, because then we could have just been like privately been like, oh yeah, my wife made a mistake, like that's true, like we wrote our locals and told them this document is
these are all not please you're over apologizing here. Please stop. Please. literally, all of those quotes were either summaries of the catechism or of scripture or of other commentaries by the patristics. And I guess I just have to keep doing it. We have over 200 quotes saying a wife needs to submit to a husband from authoritative Catholic sources. Okay. You guys out there, by the way, most people that do most of their learning on YouTube, and we're admitting, oh, okay, there's a misattribution. We were trying to splash the pot 5 minutes before we went on. Most people don't care. They just are like, are there Catholic sources out here that say this? Yes. The catechism says it. They're lying about the fact that the catechism doesn't say it. Does scripture say it? Yes. 1 Corinthians 11 says a man ought not to cover his head, meaning his headship, since he is the image and glory of God, but woman is the glory of man. That means everything right there. That means it is not undignified for her to have to do everything her husband says. 1 Corinthians 11, verse 3-7. But I want you to realize that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is man, and the head of Christ is God. Every man who prays or prophesies with his head covered dishonors his head. Same thing that Corinthians will repeat in another verse. But every woman who prays or prophesies with her head uncovered dishonors her head. So this is really, really, really big. Let 1 Timothy 2:11. Let a woman learn quietly with all submissiveness. 1 Timothy 2:12. I do not permit a woman to teach or assume authority over a man. She must be quiet. Do you guys understand that this is the issue of our day? And we're being counter-signaled because of punctuation errors or bibliographic errors. This is not a book. This is not a dissertation. When we go live, we're looking to substantiate with 40 to 50 real quotes, maybe misattributed, real quotes from the Catholic Church, or at the very worst, real summaries. So when the entire video, 2 videos with Joe Enders against Joe Heschmeyer was on his false interpretation of Casti Connubii, where Pius XI calls those like Joe Heschmeyer false teachers for saying precisely what he said, that submission means indignity. He even names that. And that there's no catechetical teaching saying exactly to what extent a woman must submit, all things except for impious, impiety, sin. Then those are the 2 main things we're focusing on. Splash the pot quotes, error, but it's a faultless error. So that's that. And I can just tell you, it's been a long road over the last 6 years. About to create a big splash with the platform that we're releasing What a Woman Is on. It should be out next week. And it's been a real slog. And you get counter-signaled by people that you don't think you're going to be counter-signaled for. I want to take a word of acknowledgement to say, Joel Webben, he's a soldier in this fight. He's a Protestant soldier in this fight, and he is always supportive of what we do, and I always support what he's doing on feminism. Rachel and Andrew Wilson, these are Eastern Orthodox soldiers in the fight against feminism, and we support everything they do in the fight against feminism, and they're our personal friends besides. Yeah, they're not Catholic. Yeah, Joel Webben's not Catholic, but
they're not picking nits.
They're not picking nits. They're soldiers, and they support what we do. Jay Dyer, a soldier, a fellow Christian soldier in Eastern Orthodox in the fight against feminism. He appears in our movie. We quote Rachel's book in the movie. I wish we had Joel Webben in the movie. We became friends after we were done shooting it, but Joel's good. Another one that's a Protestant Christian soldier in the fight against feminism is Doug Wilson. He's a boomer, so he has a couple caveats, but he's really good, and he was doing this earlier than arguably anyone else. But there are a couple caveats coming from his boomeriness. Joe Enders is a Catholic soldier in the fight against feminism. I appreciate all of his efforts recently. My brother is a fellow Catholic soldier in the fight against feminism. I would say Chase online, Sovereign Bra, is a good Protestant soldier in the fight against feminism. Note how many of them are non-Catholics, okay? We have been sold out by so many right-wing Catholics and Catholic organizations in this fight, the 6-year-long fight, since I announced that I was writing the book, The Case for Patriarchy. We've been sold out by so many Catholic publications, Catholic online personalities, Catholic like fanzines and online publications, Catholic personages that I'd formerly thought were based, like Christian Wagner, that have counter-signaled us, all because they're female coded, they're wife coded, and because they're ultimately women's prophets who are in some way, either partially or wholly, diminishing, lessening, trivializing the very high extent to which wives, to make it to heaven, must obey their husbands. They trivialize partially or wholly the large, high extent to which wives are number two. Now, not just number two in rank, but number two in terms of they're the supporting cast. A good woman has to be a good wife. A good man does not have to be a good husband, though they usually go hand in hand. Okay? Woman was created for man, not man for woman. That proposition from Scripture is just settling in on the entire Christian world after 150 years of feminism. And our closest allies in this fight, Jay Dyer, the Wilsons, Joel Webbin, Doug Wilson, are not even Catholic.
Most of them aren't.
They're not even
It's
Catholic.
sad.
No, Sarah Stock has been a good friend.
Nick Fuentes is
Nick Fuentes has been a good friend in the fight again. I meant to, but all these are Catholics that are willing to be scorned. I mean, to say nothing about Fuentes, Lord knows that guy has been scorned for 8 years. And we've supported him for, since it became popular to do so. Sarah Stock, new Catholic. Joe Enders. I just want to take this moment before What a Woman Is comes out next week on a very, very large platform to let all of you know, those people that have stood shoulder to shoulder at some
when it wasn't popular.
Portion. Before it was popular, it started getting popular 2 years ago. This fight for us began in 2019. We're talking cancellations, canceled speaking events, being called sexist, being called all sorts of odious, hateful things, being laughed at in Catholic Answers Studio. I'm cool with Trent now, but in Catholic Answers Studio, being laughed at for literally just quoting the Catechism, the one teaching on the duties of wives, being laughed at and mocked by Catholic Answers again this week, Joe Heschmeyer, for quoting the same paragraph, different sentence of the Catechism, being lied about by the supporters of Joe Heschmeyer, right? Having nits picked. Maybe that's not a lie. Okay, maybe we misattributed a quote, or maybe it was a summary, not a quote. Who cares? This is the issue of our day, and there have been these fellow soldiers. Thank you, Jay Dyer, Andrew Wilson, who's a friend, Rachel Wilson, all of these are friends. Joel Webbin, Doug Wilson, Joe Enders, Chase Sovereign Bra, Nicholas J. Fuentes. These are like the only people that have it 98% correct or more on intersexuality. The red pill gets all the feminist flaws right, but they get all of the Christian solutions wrong because the red pill is Islamic and Jewish, and it's pervy for coomers, it's for carnal men. Okay, but they do get all the criticisms of feminism right. So we've coupled with them. I've had conversations on Tim Pool with Rollo Tomasi. I've had conversations with a lot of these guys, and yeah, they're less annoying than feminists. I like them a lot more than feminists, but their solutions are wrong because they're not sufficiently Christian. But the Christians are this subset of people that I specially salute. A week before What a Woman Is finally debuts and takes America by storm. Okay. So thank you guys. You're all dear to our hearts because we have taken so much guff from people like Catholic Answers, Joe Heschmeyer, even folks that are supposed to be based on the right, like the Walmart Thomist Christian Wagner. Very disappointing. Very disappointing to see such cheap tactics. I don't know if he got a call from Catholic Answers and said, hey, this is your minute to kind of support us, prove what you can do. I don't know if he got a call or what, but it was really, really skeevy and petty. And
you tried to work it out behind the scenes, and he's still just not
I spent all morning texting him, and he drops off. He drops off. If you guys want to know, I'm always the guy when these things happen behind the scenes. Tons of blue from me on Apple Text. It's just tons of blue. And then they drop off because they're wrong. People drop off when they're wrong. And I'm not saying wrong about, well, this quote was attributed to 1113 of the 1917 Code of Canon Law, and actually it's on New Advent or whatever it was. I don't care, and neither do the people. The people want to know, oh, are we living radically wrong? 99.5% of you are. 99.5% of you believe that a wife's rights are equal to her husband's rights, or that it's undignified for her to be generically submitted to her husband. But 99.5% of you believe that. And I'm out here taking bullets and taking arrows and taking slings and having speeches canceled, having books and publications canceled, having to self-publish stuff, which is and ultimately more profitable. And being called all sorts of names because of a punctuation error, because of a typo, because you put a 3 instead of a 7. And literally, I've been doing this for 6 years, that I'm called a hater and I'm called every name in the book. Even though what I'm saying is true and has turned around an entire generation on the idea that Popes Pius X, the 11th, and the 12th, generally speaking, the last 3 really good popes, all agreed within 100 years that women do not share rights with men. Pius X said it. Pius XI said it. I read you that quote. Pius XII said it.
And this is even the case with Wagner. Like, even when he was like admitting that he had changed his point of view on like some of the marital debt stuff, you weren't like taking opportunity to dunk on him. You reached out to him. You guys had like a friendly exchange. It's, you know, I find this petty, really just like not understanding like the fight that we're in, and this could have been clarified so easily behind the scenes. I don't know how else to say it. It's just, it sucks.
Yeah,
it just sucks. Like, what Catholics, this is why like most of our friends are like, you know, Eastern Orthodox and I guess Protestant. Yeah, we have some good Catholics who are actually willing to take shrapnel in the face, but man, Catholics, it's kind of embarrassing, honestly. Like what we will fight over and what we won't fight over.
Yeah, no, I know. People are saying he did not say none of my quotes exist. I'm responding to someone on Twitter who said he did not say none of my quotes exist. Listen up, dummy. The dummy on Twitter I'm responding to.
None of these quotes actually exist in the documents. These quotes actually exist in the document. None of these quotes actually exist in the documents. None of these quotes actually exist in the documents.
Got it?
I checked all of them. I could not find them. I would like to see if anybody could correct me on this, but I could not find any of them. And same for the Catechism of Trent.
So when you say none of these quotes actually exist in the documents that I showed on screen, and then you say same for the Catechism of Trent, he even stipulated. I didn't think he would stipulate that because we spent so much of the last 2 episodes of Rules for Retrogrades, me and Joe Enders and Steph. Look at Steph. She's trying to take the bullet on this, slaving away, doing all she can do. Literally, she's pulling up stuff. So what happened? Literally, I sent this to Christian. It might have been on Twitter. Maybe it was on text. So she pulled up our document that was far less accurate because we just pulled that information together on the internet at the end. And some of it was ChatGPT summarizing what the Catechism of Trent duties of wives meant. And so when I said, Steph, would you pull that up in the show? What you see for about 3 seconds, she pulled up the other document first that just summarized it. And Christian Wagner screenshotted that. And then he said, none of these quotes actually exist where Tim says they exist. And literally after that, then we had the real quote up. She's like, oops. And after having that other document up for 3 seconds, she pulled up and screen shared the question 27, the duties of wives in the actual catechism, and had it up for many seconds, even minutes, I think. So it's just dishonest. It's dishonest. And people, this is what happens when you attack power. They come for you. They come for you. It's really, really,
especially
really
well-funded power that has influence, like Catholic Answers. It's like every time that we've done that, where we've challenged specifically their feminism, because I think they've done really great work. When I converted, I would check their forums quite often. That's where their strength is. But when they stepped out and they started talking about Israel and feminism, and we challenged them on it, it's wild. It's wild what happens behind the scenes. It's like you can't say no to the big guys. And when you try, the big guys get their even littler guys to like come after you too. And it's just gross.
Yeah.
I'll never leave Catholicism. I will die in this faith. I know Tim thinks so too. But frankly, the Eastern Orthodox and the Protestants, they just treat theirs better. Like they do. Like they just honestly, objectively do. And I have always appreciated, you know, with Nick Fuentes, it's like, yeah, like he says lots and lots of stuff on his podcast. I appreciate the fight in that man and the fire in his belly. And I know what he's doing, his big picture and what he's doing for the world. And it's like, it's just gay and lame to sit there and pick nits about this, that, or the other thing. Because
and remember when Catholics were spurging out because he compared, he was talking mostly about feminist Catholic girls that have a hard time finding a husband because they have like 20, and we've warned about this privately, 20 devotionals. And they're like, my man better have as many or more devotionals as me. They're just feminists. And they collect them like Pokemon cards, Fuentes said, and everyone freaked out and shit a Nokia because Fuentes said, oh, are you bad-mouthing the rosary? The only people I know that came out and defended Nick Fuentes because we're in the same position are me and Joe Enders. We're the only ones that were like, dude, I say the same thing all the time. I love the rosary. Okay. Fuentes gave no indication that he didn't love the rosary. I think he loves it. I would bet money he loves it. I don't know well, does he do it every day? I don't know. See how you're gay? See how you're gay? Well, does he do it every day?
That's what the Catholics responded with. That's so true.
Does he do it every day? He doesn't. It's not a precept of the faith. You have to do it every day. He would say, and he has said, he loves the rosary. He was mocking the gay wads and the feminists that collect practices to piety signal. And most of the women who do it use it to crypto feminist signal. And it's annoying. And we literally warn against this in our matchmaking program. You know, I was part of making 9 marriages in a little over a year of matchmaking. 9 marriages we put together, people from across the country. And we used rules when we were having that success that was like, we don't want feminist girls. We don't want girls trying to control guys in Catholic ways, precisely like Fuentes was saying. So we're out there to fight a big cultural battle. And guys like Joe Heschmeyer, and in past times anyway, like Trent Horn, I'm not trying to restart stuff with like him, or Catholic Answers, or the Walmart Thomist. They want to sit there and pick nits about, oh, it's the 1917 Code of Canon Law. You wrote 1913 Code of Canon Law. That is a cheap score. He got like 80 plus likes on that. He said, there's no such thing as the 1913 Code of Canon Law. Bro, I'm 44. I'm squinting at my phone. Getting cataracts, squinting at my phone when my phone's blowing up in the morning, and I try to hit a 7 and I hit a 3, and literally that's a score for these little piss ants. They're piss ants. We're engaged in the biggest cultural battle of our time.
We have to take our address off of the internet because we're actually saying things that matter, and these guys are like causing like a to-do about nothing. I'm just like, yeah, call us out if I used AI, fair enough. But it's like, dude, like, can you get in the fight? Can you put your head in the game here a little bit, please, and stand with us on this major issue? Really, you're going to release a video about how like our research sucked on one show? For real? Like, we're out here like taking it all upon ourselves. Like one Catholic representative, like the Protestants have it covered. The Eastern Orthodox have it well covered. We're like the representative of the Catholicism. And instead our brothers are like picking nits with us at every turn.
Yeah, that's what. And again, people ask, why have I supported Fuentes for years before it became popular? Because he makes this big point. When you're out there, he's been taking shrapnel over the Israel-Jew question. The same time he's been doing this, right? He's talking about women more now, and I know he's said it from all along, but he has not acknowledged that the woman question, the feminism question, is even bigger than the Israel question, that women are an even more protected class than Jews. He's said that recently, but he has all along peppered his commentary back to 2019, when I was taking shrapnel over the main issue, starting with Matt Fradd in 2019, then Trent Horn and Catholic Answers the next month in 2019. He's been saying the same thing, but the overarching principle of anyone who's a fighter, fighting for truth, fighting for Christian truth, whether against Zionism or against feminism, is that there are these little piss ants that will look for your, you put a semicolon instead of a period. typos, maybe even bigger errors than that. There are some misattributed quotes. St. Francis didn't actually say blah, blah, blah. This appears in New Advent, not the Code of Canon Law. And what they're doing is they're running cover for liars like Catholic Answers who actually are teaching people falsely. Okay, so that's why it matters. It just matters so much more than like the woman deacons thing. But let's get on to that, I guess. I mean, women are not going to be deacons anytime in the future, but because feminism is such a powerful lobby, Leo has done precisely what Francis did. He preserved it so that it can continue to be studied, and they will spring it on. I was wrong. I thought this would happen under Francis. Cardinal Walter Brandmuller said this would be the second major thing Francis did. He was wrong. He did accomplish the first thing that Brandmuller said he would, which is communion for the divorced and remarried. Based on the strength of his success there, I thought he would do it with item number 2, women deacons. Brandmuller thought so. We are both wrong. I want to eat that error. But he did preserve it through 2019's Amazon Synod. He did preserve it through the next 6 years until he retired. Died, passed away. And that's what Leo's going to do. So here's this story from USCCB. A commission set up by Pope Francis to study women deacons has voted against the possibility of ordaining women deacons while also supporting more study on the issue. There it is. Because this is the worst time they could do this. We caught them off guard. We Americans caught them off guard, specifically us Catholic patriarchalists, specifically me. Specifically, the case for patriarchy was published in, 2021, and created this whole red wave that now is a tidal wave. And so they're like, this is the worst time to do it. This is worse than in 2019. In 2019, when I went on Matt Fradd's show and I said women are out of control, people thought that was extreme. Now it's just all anyone shouting on the internet.
It's funny, too, if you watch that video. I always tell people this because it's a funny anecdote looking at it after the fact. Like, everybody thought you were like this chauvinist pig on Matt Fradd. And apparently throughout the show, your buttons kept becoming unbuttoned and your shirt kept coming lower and lower towards your navel. And it was perfect. It was an accident, but it was so perfect for what you were trying to establish there.
That's funny. That's really funny. But 2019 is when the Amazon Synod was predicted to reify, to underwrite, to ratify women deacons. Francis then attached it as an attachment to the document that he thinks it's a good idea and should continue to be studied, but he did decline to do it then. Well, that was 2 months after I'd appeared on Matt Fradd and Catholic Answers to debate Trent Horn on feminism. Well, I've prevailed over the last 6 years. So, of course, they're not going to do it now. If they weren't willing to do it in 2019, they're not willing to do it now. You see how the first part of today's show has everything to do with the second part of today's show thematically? The document also expressed hope that women's access to other ministries would be expanded because of feminism. Because Pope Francis said that the church is smasculizzare, needs to be demasculized. Right? Not defeminized, which is what the church needs. It needs to be demasculinized. Pope Francis established the Study Commission on the Female Diaconate in 2020 as a follow-up to a previous group that studied the history of women deacons in the New Testament and the early Christian communities. Cardinal Giuseppe Petrocchi of Aquila, Italy, was chosen as president of the commission, and Monsignor Dennis Dupont Fauville served as secretary. Pope Francis had named 10 other members of the commission, 5 women and 5 men, including 2 permanent deacons from the United States and 3 priests. The 7-page report published December 4 was a synthesis of the commission's work, which concluded in February and was addressed to Pope Leo XIV. According to Vatican News, the Pope requested a synthesis, which was dated September 18, be made public. Remember, they're trying to regain American fundulation toward the Peters Pence Fund. Americans give like something along the order like 5 to 8 times more than any other country. We give like a third fully of the Peters Pence funds. They know Americans hated Francis. So so Leo's trying to signal meaningless hollow conservatism wherever he can without doing damage to the overarching modernist liberal project that he stands for. The Vatican published the synthesis, including the results of votes the commission members took on 8 different statements or theses. One proposition that showed members split exactly down the middle was this question. Listen to this. Listen to this. The masculinity of Christ, and therefore the masculinity of those who receive holy orders, is not accidental, but is an integral part of sacramental identity, preserving the divine order of salvation in Christ. To alter this reality would not be a simple adjustment of ministry, but a rupture of nuptial meaning of salvation. Now, only half of these people on the commission signed that. That is so basic. The masculinity of Christ is a formal property of the church and of the faith. When this statement was put to a vote among 10 members in February, it received 5 votes in favor, confirming its current form, while the other 5 members voted to remove it. So 5 versus 5, that Christ was masculine essentially. A statement that received 6 votes against, 2 votes for, and 2 abstaining was this statement: the undersigned is in favor of the institution in the church of the female diaconate as understood as the 3rd degree of holy orders. So literally that was a 6-4 proposition. They barely avoided that shit. In fact, during the commission's second session in July 2022, members even agreed 7-1 on the following statement: the status questiones of historical research and theological investigation, as well as their mutual implications, rules out the possibility of moving in the direction of admitting women to the diaconate, understood as a degree of the sacrament of holy orders. In light of sacred scripture, tradition, and the church's magisterium, this assessment is strongly maintained, although it does not at present allow for a definitive judgment to be formulated, as is the case with priestly ordination. So they're just going to keep this thing open.
You think so?
Well, they said they're going to.
Yeah.
They voted to keep it open, and it's just more of the same, really. I thought it was
a lot of debate on that. I mean, I guess it was encouraging that at least we got a little bit of a reprieve, for the time being. The question being open is still kind of like, why? I don't really understand that. Can I show online or on here? There was an interesting, your audience might find this interesting. A poll by the Southern Poverty Law Center in just relation to all this feminism stuff that found that younger Democratic men are more likely than older Republican men to agree with the statement that feminism has done more harm than good. And it's really quite interesting. I'd love to hear your analysis of this, but it found that 52% of younger Republican women agreed with feminism has done more harm than good. 51% of older Republican women agreed. Younger Republican men, 62%. Older Republican men, 42%. So then we go up to the Democrats. So 23 younger Democratic women, 23% of them agreed, obviously. Older Democratic women, 10%. And this is really the group where a lot of the happy wife, happy life, this is where it comes out of. So, it's no surprise that there's 10% there. Younger Democratic men, 46% agreed that feminism has done more harm than good. And older Democratic men, 4%. So we got some interesting numbers, young versus old here. It's kind of surprising, actually. I was like, man, the Overton window really has been shifting, because I think if people had taken this poll even 5 or 6 years ago, this would have looked drastically different, don't you think?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I also, I'm looking at what you tweeted just now. You mentioned Anthony from Avoiding Babylon. He makes sort of lighthearted, comical, humorous jabs at feminism, which we appreciate. We
all move the window in different ways.
When we get, I appreciate that. Now, when it gets too serious or controversial, usually that's where he'll take a step back. So there's a sort of valence of you. All I'm saying is this, and I do appreciate the humor, but because that moves the window some. But here's what was of essence that I was trying to say. When you get pushed back on, when people come for you, when you're out there doing what I've been doing for many years, you appreciate other people that are an oak that won't budge. Okay. So I do appreciate effective, humor. Avoiding Babylon has really filled a niche in the Catholic world at effective, kind of lighthearted humor that's pointing out a lot of true things. Women are bad drivers. Women are bad, blah, blah, blah. but I was, the reason in my first list, it was people that are like, I will defend this position to the death, to the hilt. That's a distinguisher, right? Because some people just have only so high a threshold for controversy. And that's fine. It's a temperamental thing, but we are in the fight for our lives. The devil, the original sin is feminism. Sister Lucy said at Fatima that the final assault on the family by the devil would be over the family. It is this women trying to pretend they have equal rights as men, women pretending they are men. I don't mean transsexualism. I mean feminism. And it's alive in the trad community. It's alive in Catholicism more than any other type of Christianity. Mm-hmm. It's alive in Protestantism and Orthodoxy too, though. And what we really are looking for, like the opposite of Caesar, what Caesar said he wanted in the tragedy by the Bard. He said, give me men about me that are fat, and he meant that are contented with palliative cliches. I want men about me who are lean, that are not content with palliative cliches. Okay.
And who are willing to take some
fight arrows.
Yeah.
I can't take all the arrows, right? I mean, this is what we've been talking about in again, Fuentes' generational run. He took arrows for 8 years and he's an oak. He got debanked. He got deplaned. He got deplatformed. And he just took it and kept doing his show on Cozy TV like a soldier, and then got reaccepted and he prevailed without moving an inch. And so the people, that first list of people were really those that do not move an inch, even if their own people come for them, even if their own audience starts to turn on them. The mob is fickle, mm-hmm. right? That is the main idea of the mob. Well, I mean, that's what an army is, as Mark Twain says, mm-hmm. is a mob. And it's the Colonel Sherburne speech from The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. They don't fight with courage that's born in them. They fight with courage that's beaten into them. So it's false courage. It's soldier's courage. It's not real courage. A mob is fickle and craves mimesis. Mimetic desire is what they crave. They crave the desire of the others, and they want to be a part of something, and it makes them very, very weak. Very, very, very weak brothers at arms. Okay, so I do appreciate the humor of avoiding Babylon, but I really appreciate when people will just go to bat for something they truly believe and they don't give a damn, mm-hmm. whether it's popular or unpopular. The future will show I was right, as Kierkegaard once wrote.
Yeah. No, that's all well stated. And I'd even say, even extending to Christian Wagner, it's I think he does really great work in some of the things that he does. And it's I really appreciate and support some of the things that he does, for Holy Mother Church. I just wish that he would throw a little bit of love back our way for those of us who are trying to, fight against the scourge of our times and not just be picking nits with us. So, just want to throw that out there in case he happens to be listening. Somebody wanted to ask you a question. They didn't have the funds for a super chat this time, but I promised them I'd ask you. If a father dies, does authority in the home fall to the mother or to the adult son, the adult eldest son?
Old Testament strongly seems to indicate it falls to the eldest adult son. And this is why there are duties that are maybe unduly placed on the older son. Common sense also favors the older son. Women don't have the capacity for the kind of prudential authority that is needed in day-to-day rule over a household. They don't get it magically because their husband dies. Now, if they don't have an elder son who is of age, then they have to do their best to LARP as a man. And that is just the lot of widows. And we have lots of widows that are deeply supportive of the project. Actually, two of the big donors to What a Woman Is are widows.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
So, Albie and Cheryl, we love you guys. So I'm not knocking widows. I'm just saying these are wise women. But I'm just saying, no, a woman's never really a man. A woman doesn't get that cap and that cape and the crown and the scepter just because the husband dies. She has to just do her best.
Yeah, isn't that wild? Like, people would probably be shocked by that. But like, the reason that this What a Woman Is film is going to be reaching millions and millions of people, hopefully, is because of our Catholic widows. At least 2 of the 3 investors, like they believed in this, and thank God for them. Thank God for those women. Somebody was asking if Ripperger is going to still be a part of the documentary.
Oh, yeah, Ripperger's the main character in the documentary. By the way, there's great quotes from Ripperger saying it's not only every prudential judgment of a man that a wife must obey, but even every preferential judgment. I was going to play that part, but I'm like, I don't want to tease the film before we're ready to go. I don't want to do it. So,
Lauren gave a super chat, says great show on Quite Frankly yesterday. That was a great show.
What? Which one?
Your show with Quite Frankly.
Oh, yeah. My gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yesterday.
A friend of Malachi Martin.
Frank, again, Frank is just one of my favorite people. And that Malachi Martin scholar is going to be appearing on this show. Mr. Morrow, Dr. Morrow. That was such an amazing show. It's linked. That show is linked in the collaboration page on the YouTube channel. So it's fascinating. CIA, Satanism, mind control experimentation.
Wow.
It's the third secret of Fatima. It is like all of the most interesting stuff.
Will you have him on the show?
Yes, he's coming on.
Great.
Rob Morrow.
Groiper here. We'll never turn our back on you guys, Tim.
Yeah. Groiper friends, please out there, signal the call to arms on feminism. I know NJF has been doing this every night, but we need the good Catholic Groipers out there to heed the clarion call that your guys' main guy, Fuentes, is out there saying, look, this is the most important issue. So, it took COVID for me to really come around on the JQ issue. It was really between 2019 and 2021 that I was slowly coming around on that. I'd said some incorrect stuff before because I was brainwashed, but I came around sometime between 6 and 4 years ago on that. You guys, please continue to increase the volume, Groiper Army out there, on the feminism question. Okay. And let every other Groiper know all the way up the flagpole that there aren't that many people in the fight. Now, Fuentes put me and Joel Webbin together. Joel Webbin, he does such good work. I don't know what's been going on with me on Twitter lately, but I have been getting shadow banned badly. I'm talking over the last 2 weeks. We're going from 1,000, 2,000 likes per tweet to 50. He's still going strong, I've noticed, and he supported us when we were starting this stuff against Heschmeyer. But please, clarion call out there. We need that Groiper Army because you guys are the best army out there against feminism. You guys need to use this as the Bible, so to speak, against the feminism because we quote the Bible so much. But thank you, and God bless you guys. We love the Groipers in this audience, and we will never forsake you.
Hans Hopper sent a super chat. Thank you very much. He said, I'm so sick of catty mean girl behavior from Novus Ordo enjoying Catholic ink circles. So childish when men won't handle things behind the scenes. Love your work, Tim. Keep it up.
Thanks. Trust me, I'm an imperfect guy, but one thing I always am working towards, you can ask anyone who's honest, who's ever crossed swords with me, is I'm always trying to get their number, or if I have their number, I'm spamming them on text. I'm like, let's deal with this privately. You can ask anyone. Yeah, I'm all true. Blue.
You're
I'm
always
all blue.
on
I'm
your
like,
phone.
Bro, let's deal with this. Let's deal with it. Whether I'm talking from the Taylor Marshall fallout days to Christian Wagner this morning, and they're always the ones that drop off. And a basic rule of human behavior is if you're the one in the wrong, you drop off.
Here's a funny comment. It seems like Tim was supposed to check the references from his oldest teenager in the house. Isn't it true? That just proved exactly what your point.
It does.
That actually proved, women are like an older teenager. Case in point, I made a blunder on AI. Total teenager behavior. Thank you for proving my husband's point for him when he was making a derogatory point against how wives act like oldest teenagers through my blunder of behavior. That's actually quite apt. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's see if there's any more super chats or questions.
We're still waiting for that final contract.
Yep, waiting for the final contract.
We are looking at midweek next week for a release of What a Woman Is. And I still haven't said where it's going to be hitting.
Hopefully you can.
Hopefully I can.
A couple hours.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the final contract. We had to redline the contract. You send it back and forth a little bit. Number one rule, parish orphans, is nothing in life is easy. Everything takes 5 times longer than it seems like it should. And that's easy stuff. Difficult stuff takes about 100 times longer than it seems like it should. I thought, remember we were talking about Valentine's Day 2025 for a release of this thing. And we have been in negotiations with this large platform to release What a Woman Is for about 9 months, a little less than 9 months. 9 months. And everything takes forever because people have all these projects. This isn't the only thing we do here. Over the summer, things were at a standstill. So I was like, I'm going to debate my friend, friendly frenemy or whatever, more friend than frenemy Jay Dyer 2 different times on orthodoxy. I did one at the beginning of the summer on Tim Pool. I did one at the end of the summer on Elijah Schaefer. I'm going to tend to some other projects. But we come back around to it. We're about to have the deal done. You guys are going to be able to watch. I think the greatest documentary of this era is What a Woman Is.
Will people actually get to see me cry on air? Yes.
Yes. Steph
embarrassing.
is not a crier, but
oh boy,
she actually cries on air.
Yeah, I am not a crier, and Tim has rarely seen it. And by gun, it happened on camera, and I'm still blushing with shame that it actually got caught on camera. One of the very few times in my life I'm getting emotional and crying about something. But okay, I'm a woman. People will do the math on that. So, oh boy. Okay. Are you doing locals after this? Or do we have to? Our son's birthday is tomorrow, locals. So we're trying to decide if we have time.
We don't have time now, but Okay. But it's just more of the Heschmeyer fallout stuff. But we'll be. My main attention is to getting this movie out next week, and you guys are going to be psyched, and you're going to agree. I have not overbilled it. The director, Nick Stumphauser, did an amazing job on this thing. It's a work of art, and it should be out on the biggest platform or one of the biggest platforms you can imagine within a week. That's all I can say right now. Maybe I'll get that contract. I literally thought I was going to have to dock you something.
Hey, we'll tell the locals. Hey guys, if we get the contract today, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
You'll be in the know. I'll put on the locals right now. If you want behind the scenes info, show exclusive content, that sort of thing, you have the locals link right there on the screen. It's rulesforretrogrades.locals.com. So check that out.
Okay. God bless you all. Peace.